Hi, welcome back to Binkerbelle's Yarning. This is September the 24th, Tutorial Tuesday. This is the Q&A portion of Tutorial Tuesday. So today we're actually specifically focusing on yarn related questions. I know that sounds a little weird because all questions are yarn related, but this is specifically yardage and that kind of stuff. So we'll start with Christy, and she asked, how do I determine how much yarn I need for a project? So I've actually put a link for Lion Brand's yarn calculator in the description, so you can take a look at that. But in general, using a 4-weight yarn or a worsted weight yarn, which is one of the most popular yarns out there. Hat, you're going to need about 200 to 225 yards. A scarf is 375 to 500. Socks are 275 to 375. Shawl is 375 to 550. An adult sweater is 1125 to 1625. Now there's such a variance in that one because you never know initially when you're looking at a calculator what type of sweater you're going to make. So for a adult small sweater, you're looking at 1125. For an adult extra large sweater, you're looking more towards the 1625. So you need to kind of make a good guesstimate about what size sweater you're going to make in order to make a good decision on the number of yardage you need. A baby blanket is looking at 1,000 to 1,125. A throw is looking at 1,100 to 1,500. So that's just like like a little cuddle under blanket when you're sitting on a couch. An Afghan is 2250 to 3125. Again, it depends on the size of Afghan you want to make as to your yardage calculation. And also your patterns will tell you how much yarn you need. It'll give you a good guesstimate, so you need between this much and this much. Always go to the larger size, like the larger amount of yarn that the pattern requires, just that way you're not playing yarn chicken and losing. And always round to the nearest whole number. So say you need 1,100 yards, or let's make it 1,000 yards, and each skein of yarn has 215 yards in it. All right, so if you buy 10 skeins, then you're looking at over 2,000 yards. So you can calculate that way. Always pick the higher of the number, so get one more skein kind of idea than what you need, just in case, because you never know, you might crochet a little bit looser, or you might knit a little bit looser than the person that wrote the pattern. Always check your gauges. So when you do a gauge swatch, if you can't get it exactly, go up a needle or hook size, or down a needle and hook size, depending on if your swatch is bigger or smaller than the calculated gauge. So hopefully, Christy, that answers your question. Now we're looking at Sweet Melissa Makes and More. And how do you organize your yarn? That's a loaded question. At the moment, because I am currently in process of moving into my new space, there is no organization. But for the most part, I do have a portable shelf system in my bedroom that has all kinds of yarn in it. I also have a steam trunk chest full of yarn. I have hanging like the go in your closet pieces, like the shelf units, like you would put sweaters or stuff like that in, and I organize it that way. And then I have bins, but generally speaking, I like to organize my yarn by weight. So I have all my DKs together, all my worsted together, all of my bulkies together. That way when I'm making a project, that's the spot that I go in, and I keep all my yarns together, so all the same color and brand is together. Just that way when I'm doing a project, I just grab what I want and away you go. I also use large, like those extra large freezer bags, like the really big ones, to keep my work in progresses in, or if I'm planning on a specific pattern or a specific item, then I put all of the same yarn, all the yarn I'm going to use for that item into one of these big freezer bags. Sometimes if I'm feeling really go get 'em, I will label it with the project name and the hook or needle size that I need in order to do that, that specific project. So how do you guys organize your yarn? Let me know. pop it in the comments, and I'm really curious actually as to see how everybody organizes their yarn. You can also post pictures on my Facebook page or my Facebook group so that we can take a look at how everybody organizes their yarn. So Barbara, she asks, what size afghan to make for 2? So that's another tricky question. Are they 2 children? Are they a couple? Are they small people? Are they big people? Are they middle-sized people? Right, so my calculations usually when I'm doing a couple's blanket is I aim for a large single bed size in width, and I kind of shorten it a little bit because you're cuddling up on the couch, right? And I would do about 3,500 to 5,000 yards of yarn. She's specifically mentioned that she's doing a corner to corner, so I would look at doing probably between 2.5 and 4 yards wide and 6 to 8 yards long. That's a good comfy size for 2 average sized people to cuddle up under for a corner to corner. If you're making a rectangular granny square, it would be approximately the same. Now, number of rows and number of stitches, I couldn't possibly tell you. I would have to sit down and actually do it. Linda, why do some acrylic yarns say lay flat to dry and some say tumble dry? She actually has 2 questions, so we'll answer the first one first. So some acrylic yarns say lay flat to dry and some say tumble dry. Now that depends on, that's determined on the actual acrylic content. So acrylic yarn is made of synthetic fibers that are extruded from a machine. Now some of them are rubber based, some of them are plastic based, and some of them are mixed with natural fibers. So and some of them also have nylon in them, some of them have polyamide in them. Yarns that are made from plastics and have polyamide are generally suggested to lay flat, because otherwise the material will melt and clump, and then you have a completely ruined project. The ones that say it's okay to tumble dry, always tumble dry it on low or cool, just to be on the safe side. It will take a little bit longer for it to dry, but you'll be safer that way. So the materials that have higher content of natural fibers in them, or that are made out of a rubber compound. Now we're not talking like rubber, it's just the way that it's just the molecule composition, so the actual chemistry behind it. They're more resilient to putting in the tumble dryer. But when in doubt, lay it out. Always. Always, always, always. Just that way you're on the safe side. And when you're putting it in the washing machine, if you haven't washed it yet beforehand, especially with an acrylic or a cotton blend, wash it alone on a delicate cycle. That way, if any of the color is going to bleed out, it won't ruin anything else. Or put it in with towels is another option. When you're drying your pieces and you're drying them on low, toss a dry towel into the dryer with it, and that will help absorb a lot of the moisture so that it dries better. And the second question that Linda had was, is it true that you should not use dryer sheets? Now, when you're using synthetic materials and you add a dryer sheet to it, it will get all gummy and sticky. So definitely do not use dryer sheets with your acrylics. Use dryer balls. You can get felted dryer balls, or you can get the ones that have the holes in them. Throw those in. That actually, the whole purpose behind them is to reduce the static in the dryer, so that you don't get, sticky, like clingy stuff. Your natural fibers that are available, they're allowed to tumble dry, like your bamboos and your cottons. Go ahead and toss a dryer sheet in. That's not a problem, because they are natural materials. So hopefully, Linda, that answers your question. Anna, how to learn to knit when you crochet, if you're a crocheter. So I actually have videos in my library on knitting for crocheters and crocheting for knitters. So go ahead and check on that. I'll post the link to them in the description part. Leanne, are there wool yarns that do not smell after washing? So a lot of yarns that were made 20, 30, 40 years ago, even longer than that, so those vintage and antique yarns, yes, they will smell when you wash them. They smell like wet dog or wet sheep. They're gross, right? That's why they're a hand wash only. Whereas the newer yarns that are made with superwash, those have actually been chemically washed before they've been spun. So there's in wool, there's a material called lanolin. And now I've gone over this in my dyeing video. So lanolin is a protein that helps keep the fibers together. So it gives it that clumping and that nice smooth spinning. And that's a natural protein that's produced by the animals themselves. That's what gives them that nappy, curly sheep look. Superwashed wool uses a chemical process to strip as much lanolin from it as possible. That's where you get not quite as soft of a yarn. Whereas wools that are not superwashed, a lot of the lanolin is left behind. So it gives it that smooth, soft feeling to it. You can use other washes prior to spinning. I showed some of them in the Almont Fiber Festival video. Those are non-chemical washes, and they strip only a little bit of the lanolin out of it. So when you wash those wools, then yeah, they may smell a little bit, but again, if you put them on a gentle cycle, or you hand wash them and then lay them out in a well ventilated area, so lay them out flat in the backyard when it's a nice sunny day, you'll get the wind and you'll get the sun, and it'll help avoid that wet dog smell. But the alpacas, the angoras, the superwashes, the yaks, believe it or not, because they all have a different composition of lanolin. It's a different protein string, so again, we're talking chemistry. They don't tend to get that wet dog smell when you wash them. But again, I would suggest laying them out in a nice, well-ventilated area or in the backyard to dry. Never hang dry handmade items, because they will stretch, and they'll get those clothespin marks, and you just won't be happy with the results. So always lay flat to dry or lay over to dry. So instead of pinning them on a clothesline, you can lay them over the clothesline and then turn them regularly and flip them regularly, so that like during the drying process, so that they don't get that weird stretched out look going on. So Leanne, if you need any more answers for that one, just go ahead and comment in the comment section if I didn't hit on everything for you. And last question for today is from Ashley. And what kind of dye is best for dyeing cotton or cotton blend yarns? So I have a video, I'll post the link again in the in the description section on dyeing. I did a whole tutorial on dyeing cotton yarns. Now in that particular video, I used food dye, so vegetable-based dye. Any natural fibers you can use vegetable-based dyes in. So you can just go to the store, pick up some food dye and go to town. So as long as they're plant-based natural fibers, so cotton, bamboo, banana fiber, mint fibers, all those vegetable-based fibers you can use a vegetable-based dye on. When you're going into a protein, an animal protein-based, then you need to use a different type of dye. Now I don't use a specific brand of dye. You just take a look at the contents and see whether or not it's a vegetable-based dye. You can actually Google specific, or like I said, you can just go to the grocery store and pick up some food coloring. When you do it that way, like any other dyes, you have to make sure that it dries completely before you rinse it, because you want as much of the dye to be soaked into the material of the yarn, the strands of yarn, as possible, and then rinse it with cold water, because that actually sets it. So cold water to rinse, let it dry again, cold water to rinse, let it dry again, throw it in the washing machine by itself, let it run through a gentle cycle with no soap, don't put soap, and that'll get the remainder of the leftover dye out, and then again lay flat to dry. Don't put it in the dryer. Do not put a freshly dyed item in the dryer, because you will get dye all over the inside of your dryer, and that's just not fun. Yeah. So I believe that, I hope that answers your question, Ashley. Again, take a look at the video that I made on dyeing cotton. Posted link in the in the description section. So those of you that I answered your questions for today, send me an email, binkerbellesyarning@gmail.com, with your address, and I will send you one of these. So these are actually Binkerbelle's yarning magnets. Yeah, I've got swag. So happy about this. I haven't even opened the package. Been saving it for you guys. I can open it here. There we go. These are awesome things. Now I went through Sticker Mule, which is an online sticker making company, and there we go. Binkerbelle yarning magnets. Woo! So go ahead and send me your address, and I will send out one of these wonderful little guys. Yay! All right. So hopefully I answered all your questions. If you have any more, go ahead and pop them in the comment section of this particular video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in a few minutes for the tutorial Tuesday on basket weave for Tunisian and crochet. Bye.